In our social media segment with me this week is SABC Digital News producer Tshepiso Moche. Tshepiso, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Natasha, for having me.
Well, let's start with what we've looked at now, that funeral of Tshepiso. She was really a hero and somebody that a lot of people could look up to, and her funeral today.
Yes, indeed. We all know Tshepiso, and most of us know her as an inspiration, as a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she passed on despite putting a brave face, regardless of her health conditions. And we know that recently she visited President Jacob Zuma in Pretoria, and again President Jacob Zuma today is one of the delegates who attending the funeral service in Hebron in the Northwest.
And he spoke about her bubbly personality, and I think that's the one thing that people will remember, is that not only was she a public speaker or a motivational speaker, but she did have that bubbly personality despite what she had to live with.
Natasha, most of the videos of Tshepiso on YouTube, they show her as someone who was bubbly, someone who was energetic, someone who was joyful, someone who didn't feel bad or feel small because of her medical condition. Yeah. I know her as someone who was who's outspoken, who's bubbly, who's fun to hang out with, and I think most of us know her as that person.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at this other story that we've been tracking from earlier in the week. Is the standoff between Burning Tshepiso and the new police minister Fikile Mbalula. What have people been saying on Twitter about that?
Well, people are not showing any mercy towards the sacked former Hawks head, Burning Tshepiso. Most tweets are saying Burning Tshepiso should be one of the people who understand the law. Yeah. That when a court of law rules against you, you have other opportunities to appeal that ruling instead of you going to defy the court decision. And we know that last week, police minister introduced the new Hawks acting head, Yolisa, in Pretoria, and we saw that the DA earlier in the week said Yolisa must act against Burning Tshepiso, and on social media, as you've pointed out, there's been a very criticism towards the disgraced former Hawks head. Okay,
another big story that went from late yesterday through to this morning, it's been all over Twitter, is this Ayanda Mabula painting. He's been quite strongly criticized for this painting, and I mean, without going into much detail about it, because it is extremely offensive, people have said that, well, look, it's his freedom of speech, which it is, but it is still such a shocking painting. But we know him for being outrageous. Yes,
I mean, if we look at his previous paintings, most of his previous paintings are graphic, and they spark criticism across social media, whether it's Facebook, it's Twitter. People are criticizing him for saying for painting up that painting and saying, although the Constitution provides for freedom of speech, Ayanda Mabula must draw the line. Yeah. There are certain boundaries that we must adhere to. You can't just depict our leaders in that fashion. And although there are those who are criticizing him, others are defending him, saying artists also have got freedom of speech. They are entitled to expressing their views just like any other person in the country. But most of the tweets, you look at tweets, I saw a tweet from Keith Khoza saying he was shocked to see such a painting of Madiba with President Jacob Zuma, and Jimmy Manyi also said the Ayanda Mabula must face the music for that painting. It has sparked a lot of criticism across social media.
So some of those memes that we were seeing there, because they have, of course, what happens with things like this is that Twitter, not only do people get on their soapboxes and kind of have their say, but people also see the funny side of things. Yes. So there have been a lot of memes going around about this. That's probably what we had there. We had a few of them. What else have we got? Another anti-Zuma march planned for Freedom Day. That's next Thursday.
Yes, yesterday the Freedom Movement announced its intention to march against President Jacob Zuma, and the march is going to be held in Pretoria. And in the past few weeks or past few days, we've seen a lot of marches being held across the country. The most recent one was held in Polokwane, where the DA was marching, and they sort of hope that the marches will push the ANC to remove President Jacob Zuma, but obviously that remains to be seen. And there are those saying, well, we are marching, yes, but what will these marches achieve at the end of the day? Because the people who must take the decision to remove President Jacob Zuma are it's ANC, NEC, and judging by their silence, they have not participated in any of those marches. And people are saying, well, it's their call to make, and they hoping that eventually something will happen, but it remains to be seen. And
this march is being led by the Freedom Movement, but SABC, interestingly enough, has distanced itself from this, saying they're a civil society organization and they're not going to get involved with something that has a political party affiliation to it, which is quite interesting. But they're also planning to march to Parliament when that vote of no confidence does take place.
Yes, and we saw again recently when the SACP didn't want to participate in the Safe SA March, which was organized by civil society, saying they don't want to support civil society, although they share the same sentiment, but they won't support civil society. And that came under a lot of scrutiny, and most people criticized the SACP, saying because they share the same sentiment as Save SA, why not join hands and speak in one voice instead of opposing one another while you share the same views?
Tshepiso, thanks so much. We have to leave it there. We've run out of time, but I know we did have a few more topics to get through. But thanks so much, Tshepiso Moche, our SABC digital news producer.
Thank you, Natasha.